Welcome back. Between tensions over trade with China, technology stock struggles, as well as the government shutdown fears, a booming U.S. economy, and a shift in power in Congress, it's been a volatile year for business. So what will 2019 bring for the economy, the stock market, and your money? To my all-star panel we go. Host of FBN AM, Lauren Simonetti, is with me, and the host of After the Bell, Connell McShane. Great to see you guys.
Hey, Maria.
Love talking to my colleagues. What do you think about the year ahead? It's been a great year in terms of the economy, but now there's all these worries that things are going to slow down. We just heard from John Hilsenrath about that.
We started 2018 so strong. Remember the World Economic Forum? I thought the buzzword of Davos was synchronized global growth.
Exactly right.
And then it became, well, the U.S. is stronger than the rest of the world. And now it's like a synchronized global slowdown. And I think that goes into at least the first half of 2019 because we have big issues that don't have resolved. And we got 3 new issues handed on our plates this week.
Yeah.
The pullout of Syria, the Fed hiking interest rates, 2 more next year, and what happens with spending and the government shutdown and the border wall.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, I think it's, if you think about the difference between when President Trump took office and now, just in terms of the overall environment. When he came in, one of the first things he did, and a lot of market participants would say one of the smartest things he did, is he created this kind of environment that businesses were happy with, business-friendly environment, by cutting taxes, by cutting regulations. And now, I think, from talking to people who invest a lot of money, if anything, the president and his administration are contributing to the uncertainty that's out there for many of these, because they're so involved in many of these issues that Lauren just mentioned. China trade, obviously, is probably first and foremost among those issues, but even in the Federal Reserve with the back and forth between President Trump and Jay Powell. So I think at the beginning of the year, the Fed kind of hovers over everything. Yeah. And what happens with those issues, the Fed hopefully will react to. So, for example, to me, number one, China trade is the big issue. So if it drags on for a long time, then what does the Federal Reserve do? Maybe it doesn't hike as aggressively. If the president, and I think this is probably the less likely scenario, cuts a deal in the shorter term, then maybe the Fed is likely to stay with that course and keep hiking interest rates. But they're all kind of related. Everything's related to the Fed.
And what do you own that's both Fed-proof and China-proof? What company is that?
True.
What sector is that?
That's right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the issues for the market have been so wide and deep that we're seeing these wild, volatile moves. Yeah. Down 500, up a couple of hundred, then down 600 again. It feels like that's going to continue into the first half of the year, or certainly the first quarter. What do you think?
A lot of people say that's the algorithms and the computer trading.
I'm not buying that.
Or it's capitulation.
Well, even
because an oversold market becomes an oversold market.
Right. Well, even if it is, let's just say it was the algorithms and the computer trading. Well, what are those algorithms reacting to? Or why are kind of humans taking a step back and allowing those algorithms to run the market? It's because of the uncertainty that we talked about. Right. So if you're on the wrong side, say, of the China trade, and you had it wrong forever, at some point, I think at the end of 2018, that was that some point. We'll see how it is at the beginning of 2019. You kind of just step back for a little while. And you say, well,
take a breather.
I was wrong. I got to figure out what's next. I would add, the political uncertainty that surrounds the president with the Mueller investigation adds to that, because you don't really know what's next. Maybe you were caught off guard by some of this stuff. You don't know how that kind of affects how much companies earn. In your head, you might say it might not. Yeah. But then you say maybe it does because I was wrong about other things. So I think that's kind of the environment. One other thing I would throw out there in terms of just sectors and industry groups is technology is going to be fascinating to me to watch in 2019 because of big tech just being in the crosshairs of just about everybody. It's not just Facebook. It starts there, but other companies are just kind of Washington after them. And remember, those are the groups that kind of drove the market in 2018.
Well, so we might see new regulation for technology.
I think we will.
Because of the privacy breaches.
Absolutely. Tech regulation will be a theme in 2019. What that looks like, nobody knows. But I was excited about, because the so-called FANG stocks, they've fallen, about the new tech leadership that could come up in 2019 with some IPOs. Oh, yes. Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. Right. Popular, arguably not profitable yet companies, but this could have been the new tech leadership. But Kathy Granis with Renaissance IPO said earlier in the week that the IPO market for the first half of 2019 is, quote, closed. Yeah. So what do you get excited about?
Well, it's closed initially because of what happened at the end of the year. I mean, the markets really turned negative. I was really surprised that you had so many IPOs ready to launch, even in the face of troubled markets. But then at the end of the year, some people changed their minds. Some are sitting on it. But certainly 2019 does look like a good year for IPOs. You just named a couple of them. There are a lot coming up.
And I hope I'm wrong, and it will be. And I hope Kathy Granis is wrong. But it's just, and a lot of those companies, real quick, formed during the recession. So it was great to, they were the darlings, the unicorns, and this was their time to really make their debut, and there's a question mark.
Well, I think the one thing that kind of strikes me, I mean, this is not, any kind of breaking observation at all, but when we're all speaking, the thing that kind of hits me is this, boy, I wish I was able to avoid being on this segment or I wish we weren't taping this segment, because these year preview segments, you imagine if we had one from, I mean, we do, but if we went back and looked at you have no, we really
check on it.
We really have no idea. And I think this year more than most, that's kind of the theme, is that the uncertainty that kind of plagued markets at the end of 2018, we could sit here and all we want. We really have no idea what's going to happen with China. Well, I think, it's hard to make an informed guess on some of these things because there's been so much back and forth.
Well, you're right. These are big issues. They've been stealing IP and enforcing this technology transfer. But I think when you look at interest rates, you have to ask yourself, is there an opportunity to actually broaden out the portfolio and maybe put some money into the short end of fixed income? Because if you're going to get 3% on the 10-year or 3% even on the 2-year, maybe it does make sense to carve out some money out of the stock market and put it there. I don't know. But as rates go higher, that creates an alternative to equities.
It definitely does and should. I think the Fed will add to that unpredictability a little bit, too, because I know everybody, after Jay Powell's news conference, was focused on kind of this outlook that wasn't as dovish as they think. But at the same time, I know it didn't resonate, but he did say over and over, he tried to say we're data dependent, we're data dependent. So as quickly as the Fed put this outlook out, it could, I mean, to me at least, it could flip back the other way if some of these issues end up going differently. If there is a deal cut with the Chinese on trade, or if some of the global growth projections are different than what people say, I think the Fed could flip it around. I mean, I think they are a little bit more flexible than people are giving them credit for. At least that's what I think. I'm not sure if I'm right.
The year ahead, we're looking for China. We're looking for the solution to some of these trade deals. What else is important for 2019?
Legalization of marijuana might actually happen in 2019. Maybe
is this a hope or a prediction?
It's actually not a hope. I hope it does not happen.
Fair enough.
That's my stance on the issue, but there's money to be had. The inside folks here with skin in the game, and we've seen all the who's, what company is trying to get into what company, they predict it's going to be a $50 billion market by 2026, and it's only going to expand because if it's federally legal, you have access to banking, credit cards.
A good one.
By the way, Altria Group,
a good one.
Making this big stake in Juul, the e-cigarette maker, and then giving that enormous bonus to all of the Juul employees. Each employee looking at $1 million bonus. How great is that?
But what about the Altria employees?
That's what I said. What about the Altria employees? Exactly. It's great to see you both.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Lauren Simonetti, Connell, McShane.